wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and this is part 2 of our 15th episode of Your Games Analysis, one which is all about perseverance. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago we started this episode and then I kind of lost my voice and couldn't finish it, but finally we're going to go through the 2 remaining games that y'all have sent me, and we'll manage to do so by before the end of the month, which means that we're still having at least 1 episode of Euro Game Analysis before each month. Hi Melvin, hi Glovier, and actually the first game that we are going to look at was sent to us by Glovier. Our antagonist is another Portuguese player, Rui Fernandes, 04. I assume it's an arena game, but it doesn't really matter that much. Let me just add a little bit of this. We're going to jump in straight away. This game will get quite dramatic eventually. So, opening play. Our opponent starts with a city. We start with this response, which is very interesting, and I think there's several possible opening responses. A traditional one is having this curve and bending it into the city. There are some downsides. For example, it is possible to end up in a losing mini battle if red adds a road end or yellow adds a road end here at some point. Then red can build up top and then block the square. The downside of this move is that red city is kind of secure. Like, red can get a Dorito tile and build upwards comfortably, or red can get something like this and then build over here. So a third possible response, and one which I actually really like, is taking this curve as going over here and meepling this road indirectly, thus giving 2 attacking platforms against red city. And the idea here is, so if we place this curve over here and then red gets any city tile, let's say a regular city cap, then we have a very good chance of managing to attack the city and prevent red from getting easy city points. So I'm not sure exactly which move is best here. I haven't studied this opening line that much, but so far your response certainly makes sense. But do let me know in the chat, actually. So I see we have already a few viewers here, despite the fact that I announced the stream only yesterday, I think. What do you normally do here as yellow? Do you take this road? Do you take this road and point upwards? Or do you go over here and meeple this road like this? I don't really think there are many other options there. So yeah, our opponent tries to connect to the road. We start a new city, which makes sense, putting some pressure on this square. And now they don't really get the best tile. Yeah, I wouldn't use it over here. If you're gonna use this tile as red, you want to place it next to your road, but red's life is red's problems. Interesting. So as Glovier, you go here, but maybe as yellow, I wouldn't mind going over here and sticking her for one purpose. You have more time to draw a curve to take advantage of these 2 squares over here. So it's a nice possibility for somebody, more likely yellow than red, to score a 4-point loop. So yeah, they just continue the road. Now I presume you score the loop. Although I think it is better to score the loop from the other side, because eventually you'll be looking to place a tile over here, maybe to disturb the city a little bit. And now if you put a tile over here, you're kind of disturbing your own road. But it's quite a subtle thing. Your opponent starts a monastery, immediately equalize the monastery, which makes sense. Rui goes here, you continue up top, which also makes sense, trying to connect your weaker city to your stronger city of your opponent. They now are ready to finish their city, and now it's great that you don't panic, you don't go over here, you don't go over here, you just calmly finish your 4-point road. Yes, as one should. And then we just simply need to wait for a better tile that fits into this square. So here I think as red, the strongest move is to go... Okay, so as red, I think they should go over here with the city cap facing that direction just to secure their city and even meeple a new road and just to make sure that it's not possible to attack the city very easily. Another legit move is for them to go over here, start a new city. I think this is what they did eventually. Yeah, it's completely legit. You continue your own city, which makes sense because you want to draw a Dorito tile and finish your city like this. Now they draw over here, and here you manage to make a really strong move. So it is natural to want to place your monastery over here because it's a 5-point spot. But there's some problem with this. It just helps this monastery too much. And you only get to share one square with this yellow monastery over here. So then let's say if you put something over here later, you're giving red a meeple back without really guaranteeing that you're going to get meeples back yourself. And then you will need to build up actually 6 more tiles in order to get these meeples back. So you choose a more efficient approach, gaining fewer points in the short term. So it's a 4-point move instead of a 5-point move in the short term. You get 3 points for the monastery and 1 extra point for this monastery. But then also these squares, like everything can get built up much easier. So yes, you also actually need, so you don't need 6 more tiles. You need only 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you actually do need 6 more tiles to get this meeple back, but you do so without giving red his meeple back. Yeah, this move well, okay, he just dumps the tile. Now here, I have no idea why you did what you did. I will be criticizing this move. It ended up working out like a charm. I think several moves that you could play. One is over here, with the idea of both protecting this square and attacking this square indirectly, or at least starting to harass that square. And another one is just going over here, simply trying to run away with the city. Because let's say if your opponent gets a curve or something, then you have a bit of a chance of trying to annoy that square. What you did also, I guess, makes sense, but it looks just incredibly ambitious and certainly quite entertaining to watch. Okay, you didn't meeple this just yet, but it adds the monastery points. It just creates a bit of an awkwardness here. So as Rui, well, I guess, yeah, as Rui, you have to finish your city. And then here, you just, well, you just, I remember what you did. I think a move that I would have played is to go here, just go for potential a 6-tile city, pretty much giving up on this city, because you don't, like, at this point, you don't get to finish that city very often. But you made an adventurous move, which, I mean, I respect. It's interesting, just going over here. But this city does not get finished that often. And then these monasteries get slightly awkward. There's some scenarios how you get to fill these holes with monasteries, but you don't quite get enough monasteries, and then you end up with a lot of monastery points, but with a lot of meeples trapped for a long time, not because they're blocked, but because there's simply not enough time, or you just don't draw a sufficient number of monasteries to make that happen. Because, like, you really need 3 monasteries here, so you need all 3 monasteries to make that work, which is going to happen, what, like once every how many moves? Well, yeah, like once every 8 games. I guess another thing that works is like something plus monastery that and a curve. Yeah, that could work too. I mean, no, it's an interesting move. It's certainly entertaining to watch. Ah, so you're saying you would take the city on the other side. This is interesting. I'm not sure what I think about that, because on one hand it's preventing a block, but on the other hand not really, and it's making the square a little bit more vulnerable. I mean, there's still 5 curves, right? But some of the curves you need here. So I think actually the more I look at it, the more I like it. Then you get a straight line here, like a road plus city tile. And if your opponent attempts to block, there's still 3 tile that fit into that square, you get extra points. And especially given that you're behind on the scoreboard, you want to tease your opponent into blocking a little bit. So let's see if they bite this move. This one actually I don't remember. Yeah, they do. Look at this. You got to spend you got them to spend a shielded tile which they could have used for their own city. So they end up giving you 3 points instead of effectively taking 4 points for themselves. That's 7-point sacrifice just for the chance of a block. I don't think it's a good move on the part of your opponent. And then, yeah, you draw a tile to try and continue your city. It's really good prioritization because, like, it's dangerous. And even if your opponent manages to block here, you're still going to have tile that fit into this square. Let's see how they respond. Yeah, they try to block you, which is really not the strongest idea. And then here you choose not to defend, which actually I rather like. You just chose to continue your own city and create a threat of completing it. It's very, very interesting. Then I wonder, like, if your opponent draws a straight line, let's say they block you over here, you have 2 monasteries and a ruin, and you still have a chance to draw one of these T-shaped crossroads. There are 2 of those remaining to separate. So certainly I like what you did here, and I think one of the reasons why you did that is because there are only so many Dorito tiles remaining. As you can see, 3 Dorito tiles remaining in the deck. Oh, actually 2 Dorito tiles after this. So this is actually quite instructive that you don't need to defend with every single defense tile. Like, just having this other threat is really good enough. So your opponent continues their city, and now you continue your monastery, and now you have 2 city threats and 2 neat monasteries. The downside, of course, is that you're helping your opponent's road a little bit, but this road is likely to be shared in any case. You say it could have gone really bad, but like losing these meeples is not like so bad, because very often this meeple is lost with them. So you only really lose 2 meeples, and then some of the time this meeple is retrieved while this meeple is lost. So you only really lose 1 meeple, and as we see, like, these guys are going to stay here for a long time anyway, so it's all about the threats. I will be a little bit slower than normal reading the chat. Just for technical reasons, it's a bit difficult for me to look at both screens right now. Your opponent makes a good decision about prioritization. They know that you're about to finish the city, so they try to invade it at all costs. And you have a variety of options here. You could go over here and try to take it over, but this is not the right tile to do this. You continue your own city at the bottom, and now you create another threat. You just keep creating threats all the time. Here your opponent finishes a city, I think. And now it's a very good question what to do. I think I disagree with you quite strongly. So several options. One, you can YOLO it and go over here. The problem with that is that there are 6 straight lines, so your opponent can easily block the square. And if your opponent blocks the square, given that there are no Doritos with a road, you can't really finish that city easily. So let's say if you go over here, your opponent takes a straight line, and then you draw one of those. This is the only tile that would fit into that square, or the only type of tile. So you put it over here. But then suddenly your opponent has chances to re-attack from this side, so you might even not finish your city. That's certainly, I mean, you're a bit behind, so that would be mandated perhaps, but the move that I prefer here, I don't remember. I don't think you did that. Yeah, is going over here and meepling this city cap. And this does a variety of things. It helps you get a meeple back. It sets up another monastery. It gives you 2 monastery points. And, well, the monastery setup works like a charm because you get to put it over here, meeple another monastery, and then maybe even hope for another monastery to go over here and so on and so on. Or at least you're going to get your 1 meeple back. And the good part about this, it actually makes this city build up much more flexible. So let's say if you get a Dorito tile, then now you can place this Dorito tile quite safely, because let's say if your opponent gets a city cap and tries to attack your city, you can always draw something else and try to regain this city as well. So this pattern of where you have a juicy city, like middle-sized city, and a lone city cap for insurance is actually quite powerful because it makes it much harder for your opponent to attack. So I would have gone for that. Let's see. What you did. Oh yeah, you YOLO'd it. Okay. So certainly I can respect that. But of course, immediately your opponent, and also like the problem is that he gets a good use out of a straight line. He doesn't have that many good uses of a straight line. That's a problem. And now you see, you would have already had a meeple back, but now you're forced to do something weird. Like, I mean, do you go over here? But then you might get 2 meeples blocked. I think you need to go over here now. Or if you want to YOLO it again, you could go over here, hope for a monastery. Let's see what you do. You decide to connect the roads. I don't see really that much value in it. Well, I guess you're getting 2 extra points potentially, but you can always do that a little bit later. And like, because you're getting 2 extra points from here, except you're closer to retrieving your meeples. And this is not a danger-free configuration because there's so many straight roads which your opponent doesn't have a good use for. Well, I guess your opponent could start a 4-point road, right? But they could also go over here and now put some pressure on the square. We don't really want that to happen. Yeah, I guess like this move is the main one I disagree with, because this city cap was belonging here just so well. Your opponent gets a point scoring tile, they connect to your city, and then you immediately attack it. It's important. Even if you don't get to attack, it's like a really good thing to try, given that you're behind on the scoreboard as well. Now they go over here, and yeah, and now you place your city like this. But now I'm thinking, now that you don't have enough meeples to work with, probably a better move is to place, yeah, a better move is to place the city cap facing upwards. Because there's still many city caps remaining. These ones, even daggers actually, so it's hard to block. These ones as well. You're actually quite likely to get a city cap before you get a monastery. So the number of meeples also changes the move that you play. Actually, yeah, I'm pretty sure this city cap goes with the direction facing upwards most of the time. I do think this is the strongest play. Let's see if you even meepled this city cap. Yeah, you didn't. So you're also like, and the problem of leaving this city cap empty, other than the fact that there's so many things that work together with the city cap, like these city caps, this Dorito, and of course these extenders, which now your opponent has a good use for, which they didn't have really before. Now they're gonna claim this, and they're gonna like make this square more vulnerable again. So yeah, just pointing this upwards was stronger, simply because you're getting the same number of points, but it is not any safer, and you're giving back more to your opponents to claim on their next move. I presume you're going to try and block them. Yeah, that's the best that you can do. Here, they can claim a 4-point road, I guess. Oh, that's such a great tile for them. They could go here. They could even meeple a monastery. Like, they can do just anything that they want. Ooh, okay, that's a mistake. Like, why would they do that? Like, why would they... Ah, no, that's not a mistake. Yeah, they're trying to block. But I think still, like, more precise for them was to score the 4 points. Because in reality, they can afford you completing this city. Right, they are sufficiently ahead on the scoreboard. And if you just take 4 points for a road, they also create a big field for which they can use their meeple majority. And also, most importantly, if you draw this tile, and if you connect, they can always reconnect later. So it wasn't such a huge risk. But now, of course, you place over here, and there's a 75% chance of you completing this city. So it's absolutely fantastic for you that they played this move. Sometimes a blocking attempt is worse than no blocking attempt at all, because in case of an unsuccessful block, which now was unsuccessful, the threat is now more severe than before. Because before that you were threatening to take over a ruin, and now you're threatening to take over a completed city with the same probability. And this pattern actually occurs quite a bit. So I had a similar game where the Chinese player, a casual game where the Chinese player with a screen named Metal Cat was significantly ahead of me. And they tried to get further ahead of me by like blocking a city like this. But I managed to defend this and just get like a 20-point city out of nowhere and then come back with the game. The same or a very similar pattern occurred at the World Championship semifinals. I know recap video long overdue, but it's coming eventually. I'll get better at making videos more efficiently. Where my opponent, Seungyu Chin, also tried to block a city of mine like this when they were significantly ahead, and they could afford me completing that city. And then I managed to defend this city from the top, needing the exact triple city tile, which allowed me to eventually draw one of those tiles. So basically, sometimes the best block is no block at all. Your opponent tries to block, and you make a great defense because you know that there's still these dagger tiles remaining, and so you could, if you want, like threaten the completion of both cities. That would be nice. The more threats, the better. Now Rui completes their city, and you're now happy because you get the tile that gets you to complete your city. So beautifully played so far by you. Just dopamine overload from all these completed objects of features. And the only thing that red has going for them is the meeple advantage, because you are 3 points ahead on the scoreboard and you have 1 monastery extra, so that's 11, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so you're 18 points ahead for the price of 2 meeples. Kind of difficult to compensate, I guess. One thing that red can do is like score quick points in field, but this is where like the less experienced player, I think, mismanages this. So you sort of get, not a little bit lucky, but you get away with your opponent not scoring as much as they could have. Because now with this tile, they should be scoring quick points. I think 3 points for a road, or like starting a long road indirectly, or just doing something is a good idea. But now they're trying to claim fields everywhere. But the problem is that the fields everywhere are small. Like there's this 6-point field, but there's this 6-point field, there's this 6-point field. So there's always still going to be time to claim fields. Oh, Elias, if you're referring to the semifinal game, it wasn't a 50-50. So when I defended in that pattern, it was also a 75%er. Just like in this game for the same type of tile. Yeah, so now they drop a 6-point farmer. Like, there's just no reason to do that at all. They should be taking quick points. And you know that. I'm pretty sure you're going to be taking 4 quick points right now. Like, you're in no rush to drop farmers, because all fields are small. The position is closed. Again, like, your opponent drops another farmer. And this is where you could drop a farmer, I presume, up top, because I just can't see anything more productive with the straight road. Let's see what you do. This is exactly what you do. And also the great part of that, it's setting up another 5-point road. So let's say there are like a bunch of sinister things that you could do. Let's say if you get a straight road on your first move, you go here, complete the field connection. Not that it is really necessary because both of these fields are worth 6 points. And then you get a curve, and then you drop a farmer on this big field over here and score a 5-point road. So you're setting up some dangerous things. I think Rui's going to go for another field. They should be scoring 4 points over here. Let's see if they do that. Oh, they do that. Now, again, a variety of interesting options. You could go over here and score 4 points. This is probably what I would do. But an interesting move to consider is going over here and dropping a farmer, because it's essentially 4 points too. But it also sets up some nice point scoring opportunities in your field. Both are legit. Yeah, you go for the clean points, which makes sense. You're creating 2 new fields, but if your opponent takes one field, you take the other field. So again, here I think Rui should be just scoring quick points. But instead he just grabs a field, and I see no reason to do that. Again, like, there are fields on both sides. There will be time, and city caps are valuable. So now I presume as yellow you will grab the field up top. Yes, but I'm not sure how much I like this orientation. I probably prefer the one going over here. Just to make it... Because you see, the problem is, if your opponent takes a city cap over here and here, then this city cap will be not in your field. But you want it to be in your field. So I would go somewhere over here instead. As for the orientation of the curve, it is not obvious. And then your opponent will be disincentivized to take this cap. So your opponent will take this cap instead, because that's the one which is in their field. So let's say you drop a farmer here. Red goes here, takes a city cap, takes points. Then you drop a farmer here, and now you have double threats. You have threat of connecting to this farm, and you also have a threat of completing this city cap and unifying these 2 meeples and winning this farm outright, which is very hard to deal with for red. And even if you don't win the farm outright, well, you're ahead on the scoreboard, you're ahead on the board elsewhere, so it should be enough to win. So I think that was a bit of an imprecision here by you. Yeah, I'm not sure here about the motivation of the play with the red meeples. Maybe they could have gone over here, trying to unify these both fields, just to prevent you from taking them. Yeah, really hard to recommend something. Ah, or maybe they're trying to orchestrate some sort of takeover. Well, anyway. What do you do? That's the important part. Like, what could you do? I think maybe just finish one of the monasteries. I don't see anything else particularly productive. No real point in going here because, like, this field is equal. You could go over here, equalize this field. Yeah, I guess that could work. I guess let's just see what you do. Oh! Well, you're taking a 5-point road, which on one hand, yeah, it sort of makes sense. But then, why do you take a road when there are fields? So a 6-point field beats a 5-point road. And there are not many road tiles remaining. And you could get a meeple back from this tile, which is the one remaining road end. But if you get this tile, you get to benefit elsewhere. I think if you get this tile, you're better off placing it over here and then threatening the completion of this city. And now your opponent is forced to chase you around. But okay, I guess that makes sense. It's not a bad move or anything. So, Rui goes over here, takes points. Ah, maybe they drop a farmer, actually. Yeah, that also makes sense. And you see, this is a problem because they're utilizing the field attacking platform that you created for them. Well, actually, they could have done this anyway if you place this curve over there. Ah, no, but not really. Had you placed this curve over here, and if they go over here, they can't drop a farmer because they know that there's no tile that fits into this square. And so then they end up just taking 7 points and that's it. Well, now you get the Joker tile and you get to meeple a new monastery, so that's an 8-point move for you. They get to have more farmers, more cities into their farm. You have a variety of options. I guess you could go here. Maybe take quick points and then set up a field attack. But going over here and meepling a farm is not bad at all. I actually quite like it because it just gives you 1 point. It gives you 4 points, 1 monastery point, and 3 field points, and a potential to even finish this monastery. Actually, you could grab another one, and then you could grab a city cap. Yeah, so that would be a nice counter threat to these little city caps. And given how many city caps are remaining, you're quite likely to draw something over here. So I do like that move. And giving back your opponent a meeple is not such a problem because your opponent has so many meeples anyway. So you do take a city cap. Your opponent takes quick points, and now your city here cannot be completed. So what do you do here? Like, you might just go here, but this is giving your opponent a lot of points. Maybe you have to, though. It's not like you have a lot of options. You do have options, though. How about... Is it bad if we just drop a farmer here? No, this is strategic. Like, honestly, I need to think about this a little bit more. A lot. These two farmers cancel each other out. And here, their farmer has 12. And assume that this guy shared. You're going to be at plus 17. So the only thing you need to do is make sure that you don't lose more than 17 points. Well, the problem is, if you go here right now, you take 1 point, but you also lose a bunch of points, and you make it so that your opponent could drop a farmer and take over this field and have a 15-point field and another 15-point field. Yeah, that isn't great, but what are your options? Maybe your options are... actually dropping some sort of farmer. Like either here or here. I think if you drop a farmer here, you have some interesting ideas of connecting here. And then you just simply hope that your opponent will not be able to score 20 points with 2 meeples remaining, which is probably true. They don't do that very often. And you can always get a meeple back over here if you hit one of these 2 tiles and like score a couple of points, maybe like 1 point with a curve, like 1 point with a dagger tile or something. Not the dagger tile, but the starting tile or something like this. Another reason why I start liking this move more and more is because you still have threats. Like you can score points without meeples. So you can get this thing and place it over here and kill off the city cap and enjoy a 6-point field up top. Yeah, at this point you just need to wait it out. You need to secure your lead. Like the best move that I can see is going here and drop a farmer. I'm going to check the chat real quick, see if you guys suggested Anything else? Okay, I really didn't know what to do. Yeah, that makes sense. It's not an easy position at all. Yeah, the plan with the counter field on the previous move, we realized that was the strongest move indeed. But again, not too easy to spot because like endgame play different from normal. This is a mistake. Like this. And here again, I don't know. Do we go here and drop a farmer maybe? Is that enough? Let's actually check. So you were at plus 15 then. And your opponent now made 12 points. No, they made more. They made 13 points. Uh-oh. Yeah, they made 13 points. Because they made 3 points for this field, 6 points for this field, and 4 points for the city. So now you're at plus 2. Like, how do you win? I'm not sure. Maybe still going here for the counter field is not such a terrible idea, except that there are fewer city caps available. So this is just a 4-point move, right? So you're going to be at plus 6. Yeah, your opponent gets 1 city cap, and that's a 7-point move already. You could combine these 2 fields, but then your opponent can re-attack, and that's bad. I'm not sure I have an answer to this, but let's try to figure it out. What if we just simply take these 4 points? So you're going to be at plus 3. Yeah, your opponent can score 3 points easily somewhere. And then you will be relying on either a monastery to get your meeple back here, which kind of you're relying on anyway, because if your opponent gets a monastery, they go here, and they take the easy 6 points, or 5 points, yeah. Actually, no, I think I know. Yeah, you go here, you drop a farmer. The reason for that, there's still a sufficient number of tiles to actually try and connect. 3 tiles is a good number of tiles. Yeah, this is the move to play here. And again, you will be only at plus 2, but if you connect, you'll be at plus 8. Will that be enough to win? I'm not sure, actually. And you're gonna get like an extra point here. Yeah, 8 points might be not enough to win. Like, I guess this move is what made your life hard. I think I just wanted to see what you play instead. Okay, you start the counter field. Yeah, that makes sense. So this means that now you are relying on one of 2 city caps to win. You're now at plus 6, and you're basically hoping to get 2 city caps. The problem is that if your opponent gets city caps, both city caps, they just win. But that's fine. I mean, that's not fine, but it just gives you not that great of a chance. I mean, maybe there's a world how we win without a city cap, like if we get the Dorito tile plus a monastery, that could be deadly. Or we also have the idea of unifying your opponent's fields over here. That's certainly something. Okay. So, Rui Fernandez takes 7 points, which puts you 1 point behind. Now the question is, what do you do? You could go here and put yourself at plus 6 and give yourself 2 tiles that give you a meeple back. It does not feel right. And also you're giving yourself a Dorito tile. No. A Dorito tile that can go over here and can like equalize your fields. Or you can go over here and have 2 tiles to connect your opponent's fields. The problem, though, is that you're still relying on the same tile for here as you are for here. Again, we're down 1 point, right? So if we go here, we're up 6, and we have one tile which gives us 3 points here. We have a tile which gives us like 6 points here, and we have a tile which just gives us 2 points in a meeple back. This, I presume, is discarded because otherwise the number of tiles doesn't make sense. Yeah, maybe that's the way to go. And then you can always attempt this idea a little bit later. Because you see, the problem with this tile is that if you connect your opponent's farms, your opponent can still get the Dorito and this tile and like eat up your meeple. So probably here I like closing my eyes and just meepling the monastery. Oh, the quadruple city tile is in play. So then why do we have so many tiles? Ah, right, because 4 tiles remaining is actually 5 tiles remaining. And this monastery and the tile counter is the one that we actually have in hand. Well, with the quadruple city tile, it's actually kind of different because we have an option of getting a meeple back differently. But wait a second. If we go here, if one of us has the quadruple city tile gets discarded, which gives us fewer tiles remaining, which I think is good for you. On the other hand, if you go over here and your opponent draws a quadruple city tile, they're forced to add you a point. Okay, I think I would go over here, but I just want to see what you did. Yeah, you went for the idea of trying to unify their 2 fields. They now took a 1-point move, basically trying to... Actually, I don't think that was a very strong move, because essentially they're trying to simply prevent you from getting this tile. But if you get this tile, you get either 7 points here or like a boatload points here, so you benefit a lot. So now you get one of your tiles and then you... Yeah, actually that's pretty neat. Because if you go over here, like with the move that you made over here, you're making sure that this 6-point farm equalizes this 12-point farm. And if your opponents connect, they're only gaining extra 3 points from this because all the cities in the top farm are pretty much all the same as the cities in the bottom farm. This is a tough endgame. So Elias is saying if your opponent gives you a point, it's better than the opponent discarding. I'm not sure about that at all, because Rui Fernandez had enough meeples. So let's say if Rui were to get the quadruple city tile instead of this, they would still go over here and they would meeple this, except they would have 1 more point because the quadruple city tile has a shield. And they're not losing anything because, you know, they still have meeples. And now, for example, yeah, check this out. And imagine if you drew the quadruple city tile right now, then you would be forced to go over here, and then you probably lose. So yeah, so I think I like meepling the monastery there. Okay, and yeah, you take the 2 points, and then I think you've wait. Yeah, and I think this is why I think you should meeple this, right? Because wait a second. Let's just calculate this out. What was the score again? You're +9, +17, +15, +18. Okay, I just forgot the score. Okay, you're +9, +6 in this mini battle, and this equalizes the 6-point farmer. You're +14 because of this road. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because of the city, you're +21. And the only thing that needs to be accounted for is this farm, which is 3, and this farm, which is 15. So you're +9. Well, then your opponents can win. If they go over here, they take 6 points. You go, so you're at +3. Then you're forced to go over here. You're at +1, and then they take a 4-point road. So basically, they should be winning here. Yeah, so I think you really needed to meeple this city just to make sure that your opponent cannot play the quadruple city tile, because this would put you at +11. Okay, the best that your opponent can do with this tile is like getting +4 over here and dropping a farmer. Then you get the quadruple city tile, you get extra 2. And then with the curve, your opponent can do only so much, because they can take 6 points over here. Actually, not really 6. They can take 10 points over here. Wait, would you be losing anyway? That's interesting. Okay. So you meeple this, you're +11. Your opponent takes this. They take 4 points. You're at +7. You take this. You have to put it over here because you have no choice. You are at +9. And your opponent grabs a curve and goes here. And that's a 9-point move for them because they bringing in 2 more cities into their field and meepling a 3-point road. And then it's a tie. A tie is better than a loss. So we know that much. That is so interesting. Huh. Yeah, so I think you needed to meeple this. Or actually, were there any other ways to win? Because here you're risking a tie, right? If you go here and meeple this. But what if we don't equalize the fields? I think I know. I think I know. So before that move, I think you were at something like +3. I think you were at +3. So then, instead of going over here and becoming at +9, you just go over here and meeple this, and you are at +6. And then I think your opponent does not have enough. Because the best that they can get is... So the best thing that can happen for them is them getting both of these tiles that do not allow you to unify their fields, right? So then the best how they can score is something like 4 points here and another 4 points over here, like continuing the road and meepling the farm. So, oh yeah, and then you go over here and you have a tie anyway. Huh. That is fascinating. I don't think you kind of can escape a tie, really. There has to be something better. What if we try something like super sneaky? Okay, so we were at +3. Now, we get this Dorito tile, and we place it over here to add your opponent an extra point so that we're at +2, just to make sure that we could... Yes, just to make sure the quadruple city is discarded. And check this out. If your opponent draws the quadruple city tile, they discard, which means that you get one of those and you can unify their field and then you win. If your opponent gets this tile, then sort of the best thing they can do is go over here and drop a farmer. But then you win, because if you get, well, then you win in person but lose in board game arena because of a bug that they have. Because look at this. If you get this tile, you discard, which means that, at least according to the rules of the game, you get this tile again, and so you get to go here and unify these fields, right? And so then you win. Now, if your opponents, on their next move, if they get this curve, they do something, whatever, they take a 4-point road, and then again, you win either way, because, no, you don't. Yes, you do win, because if you get this tile, right, with the Dorito over here, you discard, and then you get this tile. So the winning move for you is probably to go over here and to continue your opponent's city, and this is the only way how you can guarantee a win and not a draw. But what if your opponent takes the starting tile and does something way more sinister? What if they go like over here and meeple the city, hoping for a 50-50 chance that you get this tile, in which case you're forced to continue their city, and then they gain the curve, and then they win. So, wow. But I think this is still a good move, because if you go over here, the only way your opponent wins is if they draw this tile immediately, so it's like 1 in 3 chance, and if they find the super counterintuitive move of not finishing their 8-point city, because that won't be enough for them, but going over here and starting a 1-point city facing somewhere outwards. So it's an interesting philosophical debate. Like, if we go over here and meeple this city, then your opponent with perfect play ties 33% of the time. If we take the Dorito and move over here, your opponent with perfect play wins 33% of the time, but it is so much harder for them to find the perfect play. Like, to find the counterintuitive 1-point move with the city cap facing outwards, this is pretty hard. And then, of course, this move, I think, is inferior because it loses 1/3 of the time, and with a play which is not hard to find at all. Like, Rui Fernandez just takes a 6-point city here. Right, I haven't looked at the chat. Okay, so Glover is saying, yes, you should have taken the 2 points. Of course, yes, the quadruple city tile. Yeah, but like the quadruple city tile is super important in puzzles, but you forget about actual games. But in actual games, no, it does happen. Like, it's one of the tiles in the deck. There's so many tactics surrounding it. Yes, the Carcassonne and now the Carcassonne equivalent of queen sacrifices. Well, so yeah, and then they don't find a simple win, which is of course very unfortunate for them. They need to just take a 6-point city and then they win. Yeah, and then here of course you breathe a sigh of relief, you take a 4-point city, now they get a curve and they take a 4-point road, but it is not enough for them. So that's so you get, which simply reduce variance. There was a nice insurance farmer move that you could have played, just dropping a last early on and just simply trying to hold on. That could have worked pretty well. And then of course the opportunity to start a counter field earlier before that instead of taking the city cap, that would have worked also like a charm, given how many city caps were remaining. So certainly a lot of, and of course at the very end, so endgame precisions just shows you how much different the endgame is. And specifically, you know what, those endgames where where there are a lot of city caps still behind in the deck, those are like fundamentally different from other ones, because there you can just build up like a 12-point field out of nowhere. And I'm always tempted to take quick 4 points, but very often it's more productive to start a field on your own and delay the quick points, knowing that there will be more city caps to draw from. So yeah, very instructive game and interesting end game. Around that quadruple city tile. Okay, thanks for sharing that. And we move to our next game, and also the last game, because the first game I featured in the first part of my stream like 2 weeks ago. This one's also going to be a roller coaster sent to us by Complex V&H, and our antagonist is going to be a Chilean player with a screen name Roy Triwa. I think it's an arena game, since I don't see the ratings. Let me just grab some liquid for my voice. Voice and nutrition at the same time. Wait, where are my mugs? Okay. I think I'll be fine for just 30 or 40 more minutes or whatever. Staying hydrated is important. So, our opponent is playing the blue meeples and they get to start first. Here, of course, Oh, you respond like that. It's an interesting response. I mean, it's not bad. It's certainly worthwhile, and the idea here is to create 2 different attacking platforms against your opponent's city and to start a loop. I normally don't do that because an immediate restriction I find is stronger. So for example, imagine if your tile is here, you still have your 2-point road, except that this road end is slightly restricting your opponent's city cap as a, but now it doesn't. But there are different responses to this, and I still don't know which one actually would simulate better. It's just the one which goes underneath is best by test in my experience, but again, different top players play this differently. You start a new city. Your opponent aggressively does not take 2 points, but they continue their city. There's a variety of plays how they could have considered. They could have considered 2 points here, which is probably my favorite move. They could have gone over here and meepled this, trying to tie down 2 of your meeples with 1. But what they did also certainly makes sense, just trying to maximize the points. You are continuing your road, getting on the scoreboard. They very interestingly continue the road. They might even put a second meeple there. That's not the worst move. Yeah, the second meeple is totally legit. How interesting. And they try to play really efficiently, like using this curvy tile not to continue their city. I have to say, I rather like it. It's not a bad idea. Yeah, and beautiful play from your opponent. I'm so surprised. Yep, you continue your city. That makes sense. In a safe way so that it cannot be attacked. They just go start to monitor, like they're doing very well. This one. Don't discard tiles. What? Okay, I see what you did there. You are preventing a monastery spot. But then why is a monastery spot exactly bad? You're not ahead. And also you're pre-building a road, like your opponent can grab something like this, go over here, meeple a road, then go over here, meeple take a 6-point road, attack your city, this meeple is destroyed, your opponent completes this road, goes over here, takes a monastery, takes a Dorito over here, takes Dorito, city cap, and your opponent has 30 points and you have 0. This is the kind of pessimistic scenario that I always have in mind. I mean, this move is okay, but I think when playing against players who are a bit low rated, I think this person is rated like 300 something, if I'm not mistaken. Although they're playing much better than that at the moment. One can sometimes get too caught up in reducing variance. I definitely made that mistake. Whereas, you should just try and make something good for yourself. I think the move was to go here and start your road and put pressure on this square. Or just like go here and harass this monastery a little bit. Or go here and harass the city a little bit. This is probably stronger. Okay, they finish their road. Let's see what you do here. So, a move which is not completely stupid is to go here and try to commit yourself to blocking either this square or this square, like somehow disturbing your opponent. And I think it actually is worth it. An alternative is to start a new city. Maybe somewhere over here, because that's pretty good, because it also restricts this square a little bit, which in turn makes it harder for your opponent to access this square. And also this would be a very safe city placement, because if your opponent tries to stick in a straight line into your city and attack your city, then your opponent creates a connection platform to his city. For newer viewers, I need to stress that going here is not a real option. Because the downside of your opponent drawing something like this and equalizing all your points after you have spent all this effort building this up is just too great. Like it's an unacceptable threat. So let's see what you do here. Yeah, okay, you go for the blocking idea. I like it. Maybe I prefer it from the other side, so that this side is also vulnerable. But it makes sense. It is quite annoying as it is. Yeah, they just meepling stuff. I mean, they're playing well. This is how you're supposed to play Carcassonne. Starting a new city, yeah, because there's no real other place to do that. They start a road. Okay, that's their first mistake. Like it just cannot be correct. You go over here, I think, trying to eat up that city cap. Yeah, well done. They now need to continue the road at the bottom. Yes. Here, You can probably go and continue attacking one of these two squares on the right. At least this is what would make sense. This is exactly what you do. Okay, they are close to finishing their city, actually. I assume all we could do is just continue restricting it. Yep, that makes sense. Well, they choose to ignore that square, so at least you can try blocking it now. I see where this game is going. Okay, okay. So sometimes when you do chase around your opponent, you end up with something like this. I mean, this was not a mistake. This is even a move that I suggested. Maybe I think going here was stronger after all, because it created more vulnerabilities. Yep. Well, anyway, there's only so much we could do. We start a new city. Ooh, that hurts. The way they finish their road. Then I presume you can go somewhere over here, scoring 4 points, which is exactly what you do. Yeah, they just keep blocking, and I think this is a good moment to ignore this. Like, if this tile is so good, we can't use it for defense, we have to go here. At least this is what I would do. I would just basically be okay with this meeple, you know, with losing this meeple. Yes, this is a great idea. They go here, but maybe, yeah, it certainly makes sense for them to drop a farmer, but maybe not the worst idea for them was to use this monastery as a blocking tile. Because, like, if you get this, it's really bad for them. And they're very close to winning. They just need one city cap, and then they can drop their farmer. And so, by doing like this, they're actually building a big field prematurely, because they haven't finished their city yet. And they're giving you a chance to come back. So, the way Red can come back from this is utilize the fact that there's a big field, finish Red cities, drop farmers in like all the key access points, maybe here, here, here. Then maintain a 3 versus 1 or 2 versus 1 majority. And then even if Roy here finishes his city, there's a world how Complex can manage to prevail with this big field. Well, especially if he manages to put something in this square, which I presume he will now. Or what about going here or here? Like, this would be actually quite nasty. Because if we go here, we create this square, which hurts. And then with this square, which hurts. I guess here I would really evaluate, like, can we win if our opponent finishes our city? And I think we still can. And if the answer is yes, I would like to do my own thing, rather. Maybe I would go either here or here. Going here, I think, is really, really dangerous. Because if your opponent draws a city cap, he goes over here and you're back to square one. There's so many city caps remaining. It's just, you're just prolonging the agony. Actually, do let me know in the chat, how many of you watched the final of the Belgian Carcassonne Online Championship that I streamed yesterday together with Nicholas Victor on this channel? There was a moment, sorry for the spoiler, where a craft giraffe took a triple shielded tile and like prolonged his opponent's city a little bit, and then his opponent finished the city anyway, and this is exactly what made the difference in the game. Just the extra few points that Crafty added to his opponent's city whilst trying to delay its completion or create some sort of blocking chances. Now, if the answer is that you can't win if your opponent completes the city, then you should go for this block or for this block. So let's see what you do. Actually, I mean, this is a pretty good move. Yeah, you know what? Now I like this move more and more, because if you go here and your opponent draws a city cap, then it's suddenly a very big dilemma, right? Because they sort of need to get this city as soon as possible, but then this gives you time to block this square, and at least you have something going for you. You have like a long-term meeple advantage to compensate for the scoreboard. So I probably like this move over here, but just let's see what you do. Okay, so you continue this. Again, like if you're Roy, you just, like you go here. Yeah. And then you're one tile away from finishing, and then what you do. So that's why I'm a bit iffy about this city. But I'm kind of curious to hear your logic as well. Okay, let's see. Oh, yeah, you both watched yesterday, so that's good to know. By the way, are we having like a fewer viewers than normal? So maybe if you meeple the like button, that would help to get us some more company. Yeah, oh, they play an even better move. The point is like, okay, now what do you do? Okay, now you continue your city at the bottom. No, of course, this is better. This is better. Yeah. Because you actually get a chance to reconnect. But again, this is pretty lucky for you, because if you get a city cap, what do? You probably start building like this. Like, there's only so much you can do. Okay, your opponents. Okay, now they should finally block you. I mean, how long can they not block you? Finally, okay. And now you connect again. You don't? Okay, but then the point of that, I thought, was to try and like equalize the city, because if you don't, your opponent takes a city cap, puts it over here, and then they're one Dorito tile away from going here. Or maybe your idea is to draw a curve and to place it here, and then to block off this square completely, and then use this guy simply as an insurance meeple. So let's say if they do connect, then you will still have chance to get a second meeple in. Okay, so what you're doing makes sense, certainly. It's a juicy shielded tile, but it's quite interesting how you shift prioritizations from move to move. Yeah, this is a mistake on your opponent's part. They're being impatient. Like, well, or is it a mistake though? I mean, there are multiple platforms for attacking, which you're of course going to use. And then now I think you should attack one more time, right? Going over here, or should you? I don't know if you should. Maybe a better move is just going over here, trying to block your opponent a little bit. Let's see what you do. Yeah, you go for the attack. But then you should expect to lose this meeple really soon. Roy, of course, gets a fantastic tile. Oh. Interesting. I mean, if you ask me, maybe they should have gone here. Actually, no, I'm not sure. It's a hard position. Maybe that makes sense what they did. Trying to equalize the city. But instead, they should have waited for a straight line and just tried to block. I think there was a much better option for them. Well, anyway, it's their problem. Yeah, you try to block your opponent, which makes sense. I might consider meepling. No, it's fine, it's fine. Actually, maybe I wouldn't have done this. Maybe I would have just scored 2 points over here. Because you're not taking away that many tiles. Well, you're taking away some of the tiles, okay. Yeah, you're trying to block your opponent, which makes sense. Because if your opponent gets the triple city tile, they are now threatening to get the divider and then to finish the city completely. So you just want to make sure that at least they don't finish this city. But yeah, you see, now we can see the problem of this move. So Roy does get one of the 3 tiles that Roy needed in order to complete the monastery. But you help them. And I think if we just leave this alone, then at least we make sure that we don't, then at least we make sure that we don't accidentally help them complete the monastery. Because let's say if this tile is not here, they go over here, and this allows us to grab something, anything, like a curve, and block the square and make sure that at least one of their meeples is blocked. And also this makes sure that, well, yeah, there's just no getting out for them. So maybe if you just wait and just use this monastery to score 2 points and disrupt your opponent's road, you're probably better off even for your direct blocking chances, because you still have this square where you can grab something like this or like this or like this, like a juicy tile which gives you 4 points and blocking chances. But now after you've done this, I mean, not all tiles give you any blocking chances. So for example, if you draw something like this, you can't take these 4 points now. You're forced to do something else. So this is one of those cases where with a move like this, you're helping your opponent more than you're blocking. And I'm not saying this just because they drew immediately the tile that they needed. So they get their tile and they get their, well, fantastic runouts. Okay, so you finish your city, which is a good idea. Now, finally, we're talking. Roy Treewer helps with the block, which is interesting. I would not have done that. So you, of course, get to connect to the city, and you're pretty happy. You prevented the worst case scenario, but why should you be happy? Because you are 9 points down on the scoreboard. You're losing in this mini battle of 5 city points versus 6 road points, so that's 10. And you're losing in this mini battle. You have 1 point here forever versus 2 points for your opponents and a potential, endless potential to expand. So you're -7. You have the city, which is about to get completed for 8 points, so you're going to be roughly equal, but your opponent has this head start on a 12-point field, so your position is not great. Let's see how you try to get out of it. A longer road for your opponent. Well, now I presume you're going to take some quick points. Yeah? I mean, I would just go here. Like, where's the urgency? Because this field attacking square will not go away because there's this square as well. You do moves like these in a couple of occasions. You do them if there's no farmer on the field. And like to be the first one on the field is really valuable because it saves you a move. Actually, technically it saves you 4 moves because let's say if there was no farmer over here, then it's a good idea to use this tile, drop a farmer, and then if your opponent wants to take over this field, he's forced to drop a farmer here, drop a farmer here, get a tile here, get a tile here. Like this will take him 4 moves. So 2 points is definitely worth more than 4 moves. But in this case, there are 2 other issues. First of all, this going over here, it's more than 2 points because it's essentially a meeple. Like your opponent has decent chances of like going over here, drawing one of those, like going over here, going over here. Because if you go over here and take 2 points, you deprive your opponent of a road. Then this is pretty annoying. And another issue with this is, okay, you go here, your opponent just goes here. So the field's connection opportunities are like not limitless anyway. And then here you can play patient, like you can still be quite flexible with your win condition. So maybe your opponent decides to drop a second farmer early on. Then you can say, okay, you can have your 12-point farmer with like 2 meeples, and I'm going to have a 9-point farm somewhere here with this divider. I'm just going to drop a divider, finish the city, finish here, here, here. I'm going to have 9 points over here. That's an option. Or you can play like a game of chicken. So let's say if your opponent takes this spot, then you can drop a farmer yourself here. And then you can say, either I'm going to try to connect to here, or if you connect to here, then I'm going to block off this square. So there's many opportunities, and I feel like there's just going to be better tiles to do something like that. Yeah, your opponent just continues a road. You get to finish your city, so you're doing pretty well now. Your opponent gets more quick points. Here I have no idea what you should do. If you're desperate, you can go over here. But maybe you're not desperate. Maybe here, if you're going to do something like this, it's actually time to drop a second farmer and try to take over the field. I probably like the farmer here. Like, if your opponent's not going to do this, then you do this, so... Yep, nicely played. And it works out spatially very well, because your opponent cannot reinvade this field. So, yeah, actually, if you think about this, this is a massive mistake by blue. Like, blue needed to go over here immediately. And then this meeple would have been problematic, but now you're in a good position. I think a lot with the fields play is just seeing how many fields connections there are, and it makes a great difference if there's an even number of field connection spots or an odd number of field connection spots. With an even number of field connection spots, both opponents can exhibit patience, because like, okay, I take one, you take the other. I mean, blue should have taken this one, just blue made a mistake. But with an odd number of field connection spots, it's important to be the first one, because then I take one, you take the other, and whatever, like I take a, imagine if there was a tile here, I take a third field connection spot. And so whoever's first on the field wins the field. Yeah, Roy here is unperturbed. You're probably going to keep scoring quick points on the left. Ah, they hallucinated. They hallucinated. Oh, it happens to the best of us. So blue thought that this is part of the big field, which it isn't. Oh, you got away with one. Oh, you got away with one complex. I mean, instead just anything, like getting 2 points. That's fun. Yeah, of course you go here. Then they... I don't know why they do that. Like, maybe they just miscounted the number of meeples or something. Or they wanted to save the square for a fields connection, which they think is still live, but actually isn't. Instead, I mean, their better equity move was going here or something like that. You just... Okay. Oh, that's so unfortunate. They're thinking they are taking over the field, which doesn't exist. Oh, man. Look at that. Because it's barricaded. Wow. You get an Ex Machina complex. Well, that is something else. Yeah, you're trying to disturb them. Actually, wait, let's count the points here. Because you're 1 point behind, you're 2 points behind because of this, you're 3 points ahead because of this, and you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6 points behind, and then you're 3 points behind. Yeah, so basically you kind of win no matter what. Well, not no matter what, but you just need to connect to this field and maybe prevent your opponent from finishing a road. So maybe the move for you is meepling this, but then you're still 2 points behind, and you're still dependent on completing this. It's so interesting. So maybe if the move for you instead is to go here, just leave an empty city cap and hope that you're going to be all right. Like, what else could you do? Yeah, I think that's about it, because there are not many tiles that bring us into the field. There are 2 tiles that go over here, and both of these connections are blockable if our opponent gets any city piece, if our opponent knows what they're doing. So actually, you should have lost this game. Like, blue should have simply not spent his last meeples on a farm which doesn't exist, and just done anything else. Yes, you do that. That's beautiful. But then again, you're 2 points behind. If I'm not wrong, right? So 3 points over here. That you're up 2. You're up only 1 because of this. You're up 6. You're up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wait, are you more behind than I thought? Okay, let's just do this again. -1. -2 because of this. -1 because of this. +3 because of this. +6 because of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, you're at -6. And you're just trying to get this guy. So what Roy can do here, Roy can shatter your dreams essentially and go over here. And what this will do, this will make sure that the only way you can win is going here and here through back-to-back tiles. Is that what's going to happen? No, because Roy still thinks he's winning the field. And of course, here you complete the connection. Oh, you get such an ex machina. Roy thinks he connects to the field, which he doesn't connect to. And then you don't have to do anything. You just get extra 3 points. Roy gets a point, by the way, which is also a mistake. They instead should have gone over here, trying to prevent you from getting this extra point, but whatevs. Yeah, and then they don't get the tile, and so then what's going to be the score? Let's see in a second. +9. Well, I give you credit for like making your opponent hallucinate. That's fantastic. And like you did what you have to do, dropping the farmers, taking advantage on the fact that your opponent was slow on the field, and then just taking advantage of the fact that your opponent didn't block. So many opportunities for blue to win, but they didn't do that. This idea here, I think, was pretty neat. If you know whom you're playing against. If you know that they're not going to block over here. If they are going to block over here, maybe your best bet is to go over here and hope that they finish the road, but not too soon. Well, anyway, but it's very, very interesting. So sometimes there's like the objective, the best move. But sometimes there's the best move based on what you know about the opponent. Another idea for you was to go somewhere here, let your opponent complete a road, and then maybe to drop another farmer. And then you would yeah, this could be not enough for you. So that was a very tricky situation. I think this move is a good find. Because let's say if your opponent blocks you, you can always go here and finish your opponent's road yourself, so that you have a meeple which you can use to reconnect through different means, although I don't exactly see how. Well, anyway, quite an interesting game, quite a roller coaster for a ride, and shows you just what you can do against an opponent who doesn't block and meeple a lot of things, and sometimes you just have to hope that they not notice something. This is just beautiful psychological manipulation on your part, Complex. Right. A very psychological game, and it was true. You were pretty much lost, and in order to win, you needed the blunder. Sometimes this can happen. I think we have covered a couple of games like this on the stream. There was a game between Craft Giraffe that was like, I think 2 episodes ago. I think that was episode 13. Yeah, you can check that. Where there was this, like, a potential psychological manipulation against an opponent. But anyway, whatever works. The win is on the board. Congratulations, and thank you for sharing it all with us. It was a long stream for 2 games. Luckily, we finally, in 2 weeks' time, got through that, and my voice is okay. So for all of you, if you enjoyed that, do meeple the like button. If, in case you're here for the first time, do subscribe for more content like this. I stream pretty regularly, especially now that there's all these Carcassonne tournaments coming up, which we all need to cover. And a reminder that tomorrow, that's Sunday, January 28th, 2100 UTC time, that's London time, and so forth. I'm going to be covering a Carcassonne Champions League match between Tomasz Preuss and Nico of Elements, and for that I'm going to have a special guest with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to see you soon.